I was about to say it is that time of the month again. It is not. Well, I guess it is. We are about to rank some makeup products from best to worst. No, from worst to best. It's not that time of the month. Stop thinking that. Drop that. Okay, we are going to start with the worst products and we are going to work our way up until the absolute best products. I usually do like first impressions, second impressions, reviews, stuff on my channel, and then I get back to you. About a month and a half, sometimes 2 months later, sometimes just a couple of weeks, because I know already if I love or if I hate a product, and I let you know how I feel about these things once I've been able to try them out a bit more. See this as like my final verdict on some of the new makeup products that has been released. And this is what I do on YouTube. I try new products and I let you know which ones are worth picking up, and I try to be very mindful about how I review stuff so that I let you know why I like something and why I don't like something, because you might have different preferences than me, you might have a different skin type than me. I am 40 years old, I have oily combo skin, I live in a very warm and humid climate, and I like visible makeup, and I don't like super dewy, sticky cheeks. Although today I'm doing a little bit more of a dewy face look, and I'm actually kind of enjoying it. We are gonna start at the bottom, and I am gonna talk about these. These look like markers. These are from Hard Candy, and sometimes money does buy you quality, and with these, they're affordable. I bought these myself from Hard Candy. I will link all the products that I'm talking about down below and in the YouTube shopping. It's popping up here somewhere in case you're interested in any of these products. My links are affiliated, and if you get inspired by shopping something through this video, I thank you so much for supporting my channel and buying it through my links. These suck though, don't buy these. And even though sometimes, you know, I buy affordable makeup hoping to find something that I am gonna absolutely fall head over heels for, these are streaky, these are not pigmented, they crease, they don't blend very well, they look patchy on the eyes, and I will say they do dry down pretty powdery. Someone asked me, can you use these as an eye primer? And I would say no, because they dry down almost crusty, so no eyeshadow would really stick on these. They are not a primer, they're just bad. If you're looking for a liquid eyeshadow, just get the About Face ones. They're really good. They're a little bit more. They're sold inside of Ulta. They're not a high-end brand, but they're so much better than these. You do not need these. The next thing that I really don't like, and this makes me feel very sad because I love gloss gods, but I really don't understand this new bronze formula. This is the Cloud Bronzer. First of all, it's a very small pan in a very big packaging. And this is like a cream, but it's a very stiff cream. I have tried using this 3 different times. Once I had to go through so many different brushes, I can't really pick this up. And even though I use like my own brushes that I know are really good at picking up products, I use a fluffy one, I use a very dense one. Nope, I can't really get this to pick up. I just think that this is too sheer to be good. I'm gonna be honest. I really think that this would have benefited from being a little bit more pigmented, a little bit more creamier, a little easier to pick up. I had to go in and do like 3 layers with a dense brush, and it still looked a little too sheer for my liking. And I don't even like a dramatic bronzer. I love more a visible blush. This just wasn't for me. I love gloss gods, but that wasn't my favorite. Another thing that I actually don't like, and it looks beautiful when you put it on the skin, and that is the e.l.f. Soft Glam. I have my own hair here. Soft Glam foundation. This looks beautiful going on the skin, but this is very dewy very quickly. And even I have an oily T-zone, but I'm not oily out here. I don't get oily out here, but with this foundation, even the outsides of my face become extremely oily, greasy, sticky. It like lifts from my face, and it just kind of swivels on the surface of the skin, and when you touch your face, you get it on your hands. It looks beautiful the first 2 hours, and then it's just downhills. With that being said, I will talk about a product way top of this list that made this one actually work for me, but on its own, I don't think that this is a foundation for anyone that has combo or oily skin, unless you want to be extremely dewy and don't want to have your hair down. I should maybe technically put this one at the actual bottom because this is the Patrick Ta highlighter, but I honestly don't dislike the powder highlighter. I think the powder highlighter works fairly good. It is one of those more subtle powder highlighters. It is not a beaming highlighter. It isn't like super beaming. It's more a soft glow. I know some people said that they felt like it was like putting on a setting powder on your skin and it made your skin look matte. Me personally, I don't agree with that. Although I will say I usually wear a matte foundation and then put on like highlighter. If you have a very dewy skin and you put on this powder highlighter, honestly, maybe, I don't know. But for me, this was a subtle highlighter, actually really pretty. But the cream highlighter, this goo, like, I mean, this tells you everything you need to know. That's not a good product. That is not a good formulation. Quite honestly, one of the weirdest cream formulations ever. It is the epitome of editorial makeup made to look good, but not to wear. For the studio, but don't walk outside of the studio in this. It is glitter Vaseline. There's no more sophistication to it than that. And I am surprised. No, I'm not. Because I remember the foundation that they released, which was awful. I hated the Patrick Ta foundation. I know some people loved it. I hated it. Worst foundation I ever tried in my life. So maybe I'm not that surprised that there's glitter Vaseline in this one. Who is this for? Who is this for? Who wants a sticky balm that's just floating on top of your skin? I don't get it. If you are looking for something like this, a balm that just looks wet, I'm wearing the Merit highlighter today. That one does what I think this is hoping to do, but just not succeeding. I also want to mention I've tried the Profusion Ninja Turtles collection. The false lashes, I love the idea of these. It's so cool that they have like a colored end. It's so cool. But the lash itself is stiff plastic trash. The end. Here we have the Pokemon and Colourpop balm. This is just a showpiece. This is just a clear balm that goes a little bit pink. Nothing more. Is it hydrating? Sure. As hydrating as a drugstore balm with glitter and pH can be. It's more a gimmicky thing. It looks great on camera, but it's not something that I'm going to be reaching for. And I feel the same about the Revolution Lip Shift Lip Stain. This is one of those that it's like a dark purple. You put it on, you peel it off, and it's like red underneath. I have stains that I actually like to use, but I don't want them to be this peel off thing. You don't need the peel off thing. Huda has a stain. Kiko Milano has a stain, Clarins has a stain that does what this does without the gimmicky peeling weirdness that just stains everything, and you have purple flakes that accidentally get on your clothes and then you can't. It's a mess. You don't need that. And the last thing that I have in this box of stuff that I'm like, really don't need this in my life is the Golden Glimmer Gloss from Natasha Denona. I bought this entire collection to review, and I did not realize until after I had bought this one that it is a plumping lip gloss. With that being said, this is, according to me, and I am very sensitive to plumping lip glosses, this is a burning lip gloss, not a cooling. It is a burning, but it is probably one of the least burning lip glosses that I have tried. I feel it. I don't like it. It also a glittery gloss. It's not my favorite, but it's not the most hurting one I've ever tried. The ones from Give Beauty, the ones from Too Faced, absolutely horrible. This one, I can wear it without like feeling like I'm tortured, but that doesn't mean that I'm excited about the fact that it's plumping. This is just a personal preference. This is the e.l.f. I think it's the brow lamination gel. This is like soap brows for your brows. I think that this does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't dry down. It stays a little bit more flexible, even though it's still holding the brow down. I feel like it holds it up, it holds it in shape, but it doesn't necessarily totally dry down. It's almost like a little creamy, or I don't want to say sticky, but it's definitely a little bit flexible, which is just, I don't want that. And it's not like the brows falling down, because it's not. I just prefer it to be like this one. I'm using the Patrick Ta. It's like it stays put a little bit more. Personal preference. This one is a nice one though from the drugstore. I just wish it dried down completely. I have another one of the Ninja Turtles and Profusion, and these are the oozes. These are pretty cool, I'm gonna be honest with you. These are like the jelly matte shadows from Colourpop. It is like a gel that dries down. You can use it on, I don't know. I think these are like, they say it's like a face ooze because there probably is the color in them that they're not supposed to use on your eyes because it stains your lid. make your own informed decision about that. But I'm gonna put these here because I think that these are, it's a lot of product. It's pretty cool though, but it's a lot of product. And I'm like, when are you gonna use these up? Because I know I'm not gonna use these up, and I don't even know why I bought these. I bought them because I was excited about turtles. They're nice, but like, they're not sparkly and intense enough to be cool to be a single shadow. They're just a very intense metallic, but I have that in palettes, so why would I reach for this pretty bulky packaging? If they had been a little bit more sparkly, I might have been more interested. I have a bunch of eyeshadow palettes here, and I don't dislike any of these palettes, and I am gonna rank these based on preference, price, and how likely I am to use them again. That's where we are at. And at the bottom, and not because I dislike them, but this is the Wicked Widow and the Crow palette, and I think that this is a very nice palette. The reason why I'm putting this at the bottom of the palette I'm going to talk about is that when I am wearing this palette, the shimmers actually crease on me, which is not very common, but they're very emollient and foiled and intense, which is beautiful, but they do crease on me. And some of the mattes are a little similar, and there is a bunch of grays in here, and grays are not my favorite. The quality of the mattes are beautiful, absolutely stunning, but just someone has to be at the bottom, and those are the reasons why that is on the bottom. Next one is going to be the Gloss Gods Let's Get Nude palette, and this one is a neutral palette, and I think that this is an interesting neutral palette because it actually has, I remember when I did the video on this, I was like, oh, it has a multi-chrome in the middle here, but there's actually some very interesting, like this one has like a little bit of a green to it too. There is some really interesting shades in here that you can go classic sandy neutral, or you can go a little bit more exciting with a multi-chrome or two, and I think that that is interesting. With that being said, the matte formula is good, but not amazing. And if I'm gonna reach for a neutral palette, I'm probably gonna reach for a neutral palette that has my favorite mattes over this one. It's not a bad matte formula, but the shimmers and the metallics and the multi-chromes are great, and the mattes are okay. Next is the Fresh Prince collection, that palette that they did with Glamlight. I did talk about some of these other products in this collection, or at least the highlighter, I think, in my last ranking video. And now I am ready to review the eyeshadow palette. I think the quality of these are beautiful, but this whole color story is redundant in the Glamlight sphere. This color story you can get, but better and more flushed out, and with more, like, what do I say, different depths in the Rick and Morty palette. The Rick and Morty palette is better. The quality is better, it goes lighter, it has more options. This one, it feels a little safe, and I still wish that Glamlight would be, I don't know, there is something about the lack of play with undertones in this one. It is just like a light green, a medium green, a light pink, it's like something more could have been done with the undertones in this palette. And I feel like with this palette, and also with the one that I didn't buy, the Chucky one, the newest Chucky one, I feel like they spent way too much time on the theming and the packaging, and not enough time on tweaking and making sure that the makeup actually made sense within the full collection of Glamlight. And I say that as someone who really likes Glamlight. Now we're gonna talk about the Teenage Ninja Turtles and Profusion palette. Is that not so cool? This is the first time that I'm trying Profusion, and let me tell you, I'm actually really impressed. Will say, not all colors or all shades in this palette are created equal. Some of these purples and blues feel a little bit more weak than some of the other shades, but the green are great. The shimmers are incredibly impressive, and overall I am very impressed with this color story. This is an affordable brand, an affordable palette, and to get this quality at, well, Walmart is pretty impressive. And this makes me feel like if they release something else exciting in the future, I will definitely be interested in trying it, because I think that this is really good eyeshadow. Is all of them great? No. But it's definitely worth the price and then some more. This is the Nomad Beachy and Peachy, the Florida Keys palette. I really like Nomad Cosmetics, but there is something about how this palette is laid out that makes it look messier than it is. And the way that I swatched it out so that you can see that this is almost like a tropical peachy it's a tropical peachy pastelly rainbow, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a really fun palette. There is something really light, there is something really dark. You can do a lot of things with this palette, but I also think that I wish that they maybe would have made this smaller and place the colors in a different way, because there is something about how these are placed out jumbled on a black background in a summer palette that just makes it look a little chaotic, more chaotic than it needs to be. This is the first time that I am trying Clarity Cosmetics, and this is the Forbidden Love palette, and I had never tried the brand before, and I actually really like the quality. I had a lot of fun playing with this palette. I like the shimmers in here. I like the color story of this one. I will say this purple blue periwinkle color story has been really hot this year. There is a bunch of brands that have been doing exactly this color story. Some have been doing with a pop of yellow, some have been doing with a pop of pink as well. You're probably seeing quite a lot of palettes with that color story. You're gonna see another one as well. The reason why this one isn't even higher on top is because I feel like I would have want another shimmer that's lighter, and I also think that these two colors are a little bit too similar for it to be like perfect. Like this top row here, there could have been a little bit of a difference here, but I thought that this was really good. I heard that Clarity Cosmetics had changed up their formula a little bit, because I heard not everyone liked their old formula, but this one that I tried, the new one, I thought this was pretty nice. I just thought the color story could use a little bit more tweaking, and I say that with my own preference in mind, what I like, because of course at the end of the day these are reviews that are based on what I like, what I want to achieve, what kind of looks I want to do, and what I am expecting makeup to produce for me, basically. So take that with a grain of salt. Next one, I want to talk about the Ilia foundation stick. I actually really enjoyed this one. Is it my absolute favorite? No, not really. But this one is like almost like a sheer foundation stick. It's like very effortless. You can use it with your fingers or with a sponge. It's one of those that actually holds up pretty good. And even if you get a little oily or dewy on your skin, I don't feel like this starts to separate and look like porridge. I think that this is as effortless as the Merit Minimalist stick, but I prefer the Merit Minimalist because that one offers a little bit more coverage than this one. But I think it's nice. I'm gonna put this one here. This is the Natasha Denona Golden palette, and I'm putting this here because, again, speaking of neutral palettes, this is a good neutral palette. It goes from really light, this is very pigmented, it is a gel cream to powder, to really dark. It has a light shimmer, it has some dark shimmers. This is not my favorite Natasha Denona palette, but I think the quality is really beautiful. It is a little one-noted. I kind of wish she would have brought in the lime chrome shadow in here. I thought that would have been great. I even think that one of these browns here could have been the teal. I wish she would have brought in that unexpected element that the gold palette had into this one, instead of making this just another golden neutral palette, especially for a brand that honestly has a lot of neutral palettes already, but it is good quality. There's nothing wrong with quality. I prefer the retro palette over this, but it's because that one can go a little bit more dramatic if I want to, but I still think that it's a nice palette. Is it going to be my favorite neutral palette? Probably not, but I will say that light beige in here, it enables you to get the drama. And I appreciate a neutral palette that goes from really light to really dark. And in this pile here, this is the Coastal palette by Simply Posh. I really like the quality of Simply Posh, and this is the palette that they came out with recently. It is a row of duochromes and 2 rows of mattes. If this one had at least 1 or 2 of these had been a matte inner corner highlight, I would have put this even higher, because in this palette, for me, the only inner corner highlight that is offered for me, for my skin tone, is this one here that is a very bright, almost like icy mauve. Does that make sense? I don't know, which is beautiful, but I don't want a shimmer in the corner. I want to mix and match with like pastels or a white matte or anything like that, but that is again a personal preference. I still think that this is really beautiful, but I'm gonna say the same with Simply Posh as I do with Glam Light. I would have loved to see a really light matte in the palette as well, because I feel like that leans to so much more versatility, not only as doing a full matte look that has contrast or as an inner corner highlight, but also as a blending out shade if you want to sheer something out and you have a lighter skin tone. The next thing I want to talk about is the Essence Baby Got Blush and Baby Got Glow. These are the kind of like poofy makeup that you have seen before. These are actually really nice. These are a more gel-like formula, and I will say, it doesn't really work with the poofs, so I'm probably going to take the poofs off and just use them as a squeezy tube and blend them in with like a sponge or a brush, because that's how I ended up using them anyways. But I actually really like the formula. It is a creamy formula. It doesn't 100% dry down, but it stays a little hydrated on the skin, but not powdery, but not sticky or greasy or balmy. And I actually really enjoyed how they looked on the skin. I thought it looked very smooth and very blended and very sophisticated, and they're very affordable. So yeah, I gotta say, I am pretty impressed with that. I also have to say, and this is a highlighter, and this is a glittery highlighter, and not a glittery highlighter, but more like a visibly sparkly highlighter. But dang, these are really pretty on the skin. These are the Fruit Lighters from Cleona. I have these two in front of me, but I have quite a few other shades as well. This one I used last. This is the Bitter one. This is such a pretty shade. It is like almost like a gold to like a pinky raspberry peachy shade. These are so beautiful. I'll show you swatches of the two that I have here. The orange one is called Juicy. If you're looking for a very high intensity highlighters in really cute colors and cute packaging, and you don't mind a little visible sparkle, but not like chunky glitter, these are nice. These are definitely good, like Cleona quality for sure. I also have to say, and I know that like some people really didn't like this one, but the new foundation stick from Charlotte Tilbury, this one is extremely glowy. This is the Hollywood Flawless Finish, but with according to me, a little bit more coverage in the stick and not as metallic. It is like they took a little bit of the glow off. It's very similar, but they took a little bit of the glow off and they added a little bit more coverage. But this one, if you just use this in the outer perimeter and then just you could use concealer in the T-zone, this looks so good. I've been using this one like that, and it looks very glowy and very dewy. But this one, again, it doesn't break up. It doesn't move around the skin. It is like that artificial dew that looks dewy, but actually isn't dewy. So even for me, wearing this outside in this humid heat, it actually holds up pretty good. And I gotta say, something about this formulation, it's so much better than the liquid version. According to me, someone, again, that has combo oily skin, it doesn't look sticky, it doesn't break up, it doesn't move around my skin. I don't want it all over my face. Like the first time I used it, it doesn't work like that for me. It looks very sweaty, but just on the perimeter and then concealer in my teeth, it actually looks really good, and I'm kind of impressed. I also really like the Too Faced Born This Way Soft Matte Foundation. This is a full coverage soft matte. Is a very good description of it because it is matte but not flat. It doesn't dry down like powdery. It has a little bit of a, not sheen to it, but like there is some life to it. This one though does not hold up on me for like 12 hours like some other foundations that say that they are oil controlling do. I would say around 8 hours I do need to blot and powder, but it still looks good. It doesn't break down. But if I use, I'm going to talk about that in a bit, if I use a very mattifying primer though, I can make this last for a really long time. It is good, but this is not a 12 hours looking fresh, no need to touch up foundation. If I babysit this a little bit though, it looks really good. This is the Nomad Cosmetics Longing palette, and first time I did like something with this palette, I was like, oh my god, is this the best Blend Bunny palette ever? And in a way, I would like to say yes, until I tried this row here. This is a taupey row, but this taupey row is so cool toned that on me, all of these look like grays. And I do have, I don't know if it's up when you're seeing this, I have no idea. It's a little bit of chaos around me. I do have an Instagram tutorial where I'm using this row here, and it just looks like a gray smoky eye. And in is it the Lure palette? I think it's the Lure palette. She also has some like more taupey shades, and those look like taupey browns on me. So I do prefer those browns over these, but I still think the quality is really good. And if you are looking for some cool tone browns, well, at least on me, these look great. So it's definitely a little bit more of a cool tone leaning palette. And I do appreciate that there's a little bit of an almost like olivey section here as well, and then there is a straight up gray section as well. I think this palette is really good quality. Blend Bunny is always really good quality. It's just that maybe it's leaning a little bit too cool to be like a perfect palette for me, but I say that as someone who prefers warm tones over cool tones. You might hear this and think, finally. This is the Natasha Denona Golden Highlighter Trio. Really like this one. I think the highlighters are super, super good quality. These are stunning. Do I wish that these were singles or duos instead? Yes. I actually can use all three of these shades on my skin. They do not have they're pretty transparent in their base, and it doesn't like leave a cast really on my face either. But do I wish that they were singles or duos? Yeah, I do. But I can't deny the quality is beautiful. Natasha Denona really has been killing it in the highlighter department, and this is no exception. So personally, I prefer Solmåne 2. This is the Moon Wish palette from Oden when it comes to this pinky purpley blue color scheme, but it is because it has this pop of yellow as well, and I love the pop of yellow that is in here. And also I love Oden quality. This is the kind of quality that I like to work with. It is blendable, buildable, and just pigmented, and I really like working with the shimmers as well. I like that they do some more sparkly metallics, some foil metallics, some toppers. I love the Oden toppers. I feel like you can build them up if you want to. You can sheer them out. I think they're beautiful. I really like this dark purple here. It's super, super stunning, and the yellow together with this neutral is so pretty. This is almost like a champagne with like an almost icy slight lime sheen. It's a very interesting color story, and I like the combination of the purples with some blues, with some yellows, with some neutrals. I think this is a beautiful palette, and the artwork is stunning. I am very, very impressed with the new liquid blushes from Huda Beauty. I think these are great. I have not been talking enough about these on my channel. The packaging, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12.5 out of 10. Love the rounded edges and the color coordinated packaging. That cannot have been like, that has to be expensive to make. The dotted like little applicator is great too. You don't get too much product. You can just dot it on and blend it out. These colors blend together perfectly. The formula is stunning on the cheeks. They have a slight sheen to them. They do not look metallic or shimmery or glittery. They just look dewy without being dewy. They look like a nice dewy cream product, but they dry down and they last, and they are stunning. This is a great formulation. And I love Cosmic brushes, and I love that they were able to do these really, really interesting palettes with like a twist on, this is a twist on neutrals. This is a Nude Trolls palette. And this goes from really light to really deep. It is a mix between cool tones and warm tones. There are like a multi-chrome in here, and there are just some really interesting colors. I think you can see here as well. This one is a super cute duochrome. I did a look with that one. There is mattes, there is shimmers, there is depth, there is variety. This is a very interesting neutral palette, and I have been so excited about it. I love this mustard shade here. It's beautiful. And then the second one is the Cool Trolls palette. Same here. I love the formula from Cosmic brushes. The formula is blendable and pigmented and buildable, but at the same time you don't blend it away, and I just think it's beautiful. I use all of my eyeshadows that I ever use on an eyeshadow primer that I do not set. That's how I use my eyeshadows. This is the Cool Trolls palette, and this is like a little gray and a little cool tone, but this one has more colors to choose from. But there are some mauves and some like pinky purples. There is a couple of blues in here, and then there's a gray section and some taupes. And honestly, I think this is a really cool palette. These taupes do show up as taupes and not grays. I will not be using this gray here. It's not my story, it's not what I love, but the quality of this one is beautiful. And this affinity here is just this stunning, opaque, metallic denim blue that is just so sexy. I'm just very, very impressed with both of these two palettes, and I am impressed with Cosmic Brushes to continue to just release these really high quality, interesting palettes. And if you have been paying attention on my channel these past couple of weeks, you would have known that the one thing that is coming on top is the new primer from One Size. This is a game changer. I am so impressed with this primer. This is called the Oil Sucker, which is a very non-sexy name. Extreme Mattifying Alkaline Primer. Some people are saying that alkaline is not good to have in your face. I will say I don't know much about that. Okay, how do I say this? You keep asking me, is this as good as the Glow Recipe one? Is this as good as the Nessa Myricks one? Is this as good as this is the best mattifying primer I've ever used. I've never seen a primer make this much of a difference. It goes on liquidy, like a liquidy gel. You have to shake it first, and then it dries down instantly. It's like, it feels a little constraining almost, but then you put on your makeup and that feeling totally goes away, and it really keeps you matte. It keeps the oils from like coming through. Someone asked me if it's sweat proof, and also I don't know that because I actually don't sweat really in my face. So I'm gonna have to ask the audience. Have you tried this? Do you know if it works for sweat too? I only know that it works for oils. And the way that I know that this works is that I use this together with that dewy foundation with e.l.f. that I told you about, that just gets dewy everywhere, even in the places where I'm not oily. And I use this one only in my T-zone. I use the dewy foundation all over my skin, and I only got dewy in the outer perimeter of my face where I didn't put this one. In the inner, the oily parts on my face, the foundation was still there. It looked dewy, but not greasy or oily. It had not started lifting from my face. It looked like it did when I applied it. For me, this changes the game, and I am extremely impressed by this product. Very impressed. I don't wear it today. I should have worn it today. I don't know what I didn't, but very impressed. Let me know what you think about these products. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I always come back and I give you further thoughts when I've tried more products, but I just had like a big bunch of things now that I've like formed my opinions on. Some of them I've been using more intensely as of late. Some of them I've been using over a longer period of time. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about these? And don't forget to subscribe before you leave. If you're interested in any of these products, they're gonna be in the description box or in the YouTube shopping. And I hope you're having a great day. I'll see you soon again. Bye!